Well, y'all came back. Good deal. So what was your favorite pizza? Well, y'all are a talkative bunch. What do you think, Jagger? Pepperoni. Yeah, that's everybody's favorite pizza. Does anybody like ham and pineapple? All right, you're talking now. My favorite pizza is when Sam Bunyard pies it. That's my favorite pizza. It didn't happen. Okay. All right. Story's told about a little girl that came out of Bible class. She went to her mama, her name was Amy, and she said, "Billy Butler kissed me." Well, her mom was all big-eyed and looked at her and said, "Well, how did this happen?" And Amy said, "Well, it wasn't easy, but 3 of my girlfriends helped me catch him and hold him down." Sometimes the enemy speaks, right? I wonder about her 3 friends and how she talked them into doing that. I want to talk to you about the wrong kind of friends. I think that is a huge part of what can happen with people. In a minute, we'll get to that other passage in Deuteronomy. What does 1 Corinthians 15, verse 33 say? Do y'all remember? Evil, companionship. This is Bible Trivia 101. Evil companionship corrupts good morals. There are variations of it, but it's going to say the same thing. It's basically saying to us what? Evil company is bad company. It can cause you to think like them. It can cause you to act like them. So you need to surround yourselves with the right kind of people. That's what your parents are doing by bringing you or wanting you to be a part of that. That's what this church does by setting this up. If you go to something like the FC Bible camp, or their camps, I didn't mean to say Bible camp, but the FC camps, it's just kids being able to be together and to have the like kind of thinking and the like kind of struggles and the like kind of faith. So what a friend is everything. It can make you or break you. Think about an Old Testament passage. It's out of Deuteronomy chapter 13, verses 6 and verse 8. Verse 6 says, "If your brother, the son of your mother, or your son, or your daughter, or the wife you embrace, or your friend who is as your own soul, entices you secretly, saying, 'Let us go and serve other gods,' then this is to be your response. You shall not yield to him or listen to him, nor shall your eye pity him, nor shall you spare him, nor shall you conceal him." What do you think the verses said between this? What were they supposed to do to that guy? Well, get away from him, right, but here's how they got away from him. You took him out and stoned him to death. Man, that sounds harsh. In the Old Testament, that's what they did. Why would that be the case? I mean, why would God's law be so hard if somebody tried to get you to go serve an idol, to go serve a false god? Why would he demand the death penalty? Erwin.
It's disobeying a direct commandment that he gave him.
All right, you're disobeying the direct commandment. That's true. But there's some disobeying direct commandments. He didn't demand that somebody die because of it. I'm sorry?
So he didn't bring down others with him?
He couldn't bring, say it again, I'm sorry.
He couldn't bring down others with him?
He couldn't bring others down with him, all right? And down meaning that what's ultimately going to happen if you go serve another idol. What do you mean by bringing them down? And if they serve another god, what's going to happen to them eternally? They're all going to go to hell, aren't they? In other words, is a friend really a friend that tries to kill you? That's not a real friend. I mean, we're going to look at a passage in a minute that's exactly what he's saying. So turn to Proverbs chapter 1. We're going to spend our time there and think about a passage that talks to young people about having the right kind of friends. There's a couple of people in the Old Testament that are examples of having the wrong kind of friend. Does anybody remember who Amnon is? Does that name sound familiar to you? Amnon was the son of David. In fact, at this point, he apparently is the oldest son of David. It should be that we would say, instead of David and Solomon, we would have said David and Amnon. But Amnon is going to die, and he's going to die, remember, at the hands of Absalom, who was Tamar's brother. Does any of that, and I know this may be kind of an obscure story to you, but it is an important story about friends in the Old Testament. I'm going to take the time to read it. But Amnon had a friend named Jonadab, and he counseled Amnon to play like he was sick, invite his half-sister. There's a lot of other wrong problems going on here. David married different wives, so Tamar wasn't his full sister. And he had fallen in love with her. And so it's a bad story, and it just gets worse. And finally, Tamar has to flee, and he has abused her. And in the end, Absalom murders him. And so all of that results. What if Amnon had a good friend? What if Jonadab had said to him, you got to get over this feeling you have for your half-sister. This is not going to work. Or in that day and age, there were probably marriages, sometimes seems weird to us, but you remember that was true of Abraham, marrying someone who was kin to him. But be that as it may, whether he would have spoken to him, go to King David, talk to him, because that's what Tamar had counseled him, and he'll give her to him. But he would have been doing it in the right way. He would have been asking for what would have been lawful. But Jonadab told him to go the wrong way, and Amnon listened to him, and disaster struck David's house. You remember Rehoboam? Rehoboam's the son of Solomon. And when Solomon dies, Rehoboam comes to the throne. And all Israel comes to him and says, your father has taxed us and worked us to death. Take the burden off of us. Lessen it. And so he sent them away and took counsel. And he took counsel with two groups. The older people, the men that had been under Solomon, said, listen to the people. Do what they're asking you, and they'll serve you freely. But the younger men said, no, you tell them that your little finger is thicker than your father's waist. You think that it was bad under Solomon, I'm going to make it worse on you. It's going to be scorpion whips, he said. And so the people come back, and you can imagine what would happen. They're told they're going to get taxed more, and they're going to get worked harder, and the kingdom divided. That's where we get the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, or Judah and Israel. And it's all because Rehoboam listened to the wrong group of friends. So there's examples in the Bible of it. So let's look over to Proverbs 1 and think about this example that is a made-up story by, obviously, the writer, but he is telling something very, very important. All right, so Charlie, do you mind reading that? Read 8 through 19. Yeah, Proverbs 1, verse 8 through verse 19.
My son, hear the instruction of your father. Do not forsake the law of your mother, for they will be a graceful ornament on your head, and my chains about your neck. My son, if sinners entice you, do not consent. If they say, come with us, let us lie in wait to shed blood. Let us lurk secretly for the innocent without cause. Let us swallow them alive like Sheol, and whole like those who go down to the pit. And we shall find all kinds of precious possessions. We shall fill our houses with spoil. To what verse?
Through 19.
Cast in your lot among us. Let us all have one purse. My son, do not walk in the way with them. Keep your foot from their path, for their feet run to evil, and they make haste to shed blood. Surely, in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird, but they lie and wait for their own blood. They lurk secretly for their own lives. So are the ways of everyone who is greedy for grain. It takes away the life of its owners.
All right, thank you, Charlie. Okay, summarize that for me. What is he warning him against? What are his friends trying to tell him to do?
To basically just plunder,
Yeah.
kill and take the money.
Yeah, they're going to lie in wait for this guy. Yeah, you don't know. They may murder him, or they may hurt him so bad he'd be like the man that was beaten by the side of the road. You know, that this Good Samaritan helped. I mean, it could be something like that sort of thing. So they're wanting him to throw in with them and go do something that's bad, and they're going to be able to profit out of that. They're going to make a bunch of money, they think. There are principles in this that we need to listen to. So I hope that you were listening to it as we were reading it together. So let's think about it. First of all, you can listen to the wrong people. You need to think about who you're listening to, who you're paying attention to. Notice what he said. If they say, "Come with us, let us lie in wait for blood, let us ambush the innocent." You've got to choose the right people to listen to. When Jonathan, my son, was little, I was taking him to school one day, and he was telling me about some kids that wanted him to do something that wasn't as wrong as this, but it was not good. It wasn't the right thing to do. I can't remember now what it was, but you know, as a dad, I was thinking, about this passage. So I started quoting it to him as I'm driving along, and I was just paraphrasing some parts, but I was quoting others, and I was telling him all about it. And I said, "Jonathan, what he says is you don't go with them and don't do the bad thing." And then Jonathan again said, "Yeah, and we ought to punch their lights out." And I said, "Well, I think the Bible has something to say about that too." But it was like, I don't want to get involved with them. I need to know who I'm listening to. Are you listening to the right people? Are you paying attention to folks who are going to help you go to heaven versus those that would take you a different path? Secondly, notice what he says at verse 8. "Hear, my son, your father's instruction, and forsake not your mother's teaching." All right, be honest with me. Do you always like what your parents tell you to do? Yeah, y'all saw all their heads. It almost was the same. No. Okay, why don't you like what they tell you to do? I mean, what's your feeling about it? Not asking about specifics. I'm just saying, you shook your head, no. So it's something you don't want to do. I mean, that's just the bottom line of it. I'm sorry, Owen.
Why are they making us do it if they could do it?
Why are they making me do it if they, or not do it if they are doing it? Okay. Yeah, I don't know these kids' parents. I'm not going to point them out or anything. Anybody else? Good stuff. All right. The biggest thing is, I think, about what you were saying, Everett, is I just don't want to do it. I mean, I've made up my mind what I want to do. And my parents are telling me that's not a good choice. I have to watch that now. I mean, I've got a son that is 39. It's just a parent. I don't care how old they are. If they tell you something, you want to jump in and say, "That's a dumb decision. That's not a good decision." You know, it doesn't matter how old you are. Your parents are going to do that. Why do you think your parents do that? Why did they jump in and give you counsel that you don't want to really listen to, and they want to tell you how you ought to live your life, you know?
Protect us.
Ma'am?
Because they're trying to protect us.
All right, they're trying to protect you, and they're trying to make sure that things go well with you, right? Okay? Pardon?
Maybe trying to teach us.
Teach you, because obviously we've been talking about you got to make choices. There's a path that leads to wisdom. That's what Proverbs is part of, wisdom literature. There's a path that leads to wisdom, and the other side is always foolishness, folly. You know, it talks about you go this way and you're going to hurt yourself, and you're going to hurt other people, and you're going to reject God. And here's the way that's healthy, and you'll have a good life, and all of that is the kind of thing that your parents are trying to lay out. They know that you don't know everything. They know that you're not old enough yet to know everything. You think about when a little kid walks up and wants to touch one of those coil things on an oven, you know, or a gas flame. What's the first thing, you know, they do? They jump up and say, "Don't touch that." But sometimes, not an open flame, but if it's a hot plate or something like that, they may let you touch it real quick, because why? What are they going to teach you if you touch it? Yeah, you might have a little bit of burn on you. They're not going to let you get really hurt, but they're going to teach you a lesson of that's what happens when you violate physical laws, or you jump off a 10-story building without a parachute, or whatever the case is. They're trying to help you navigate life. Let me tell you something else. Being on both ends of it, having been son and a father, they love you like nobody else loves you. Put it in this way. They changed more poopy diapers and powdered your bottom than you can think about. Nobody loves you like that. I would never do that for any of you. I like you, but I'm not doing any of that. They love you. Don't ever forget that. Do you know how much money they spent on you to get you from? How much money they're about to spend on you if you go to Florida College? They might as well pull their pockets out. So this is like, or any college. Do you have any clue how much money that they spend from the time you were born until you graduate high school? You got a figure in your mind? No, because everything's paid for. Y'all are the best case for welfare that's ever been made. I mean, you live off the dole, and it can't be any other way. It can't be any other way. They've got to get you to maturity, the point that you're starting to have jobs, and then you're expected to have a job. When you graduate, when you're 18, you have three choices. You can go to trade school, you can go to college, or you get a job. I said three choices. Fourth choice, you can go live with the grandparents. Those are your choices. Or military, yeah. But when you think about, they're wanting to get you to the right point. They love you like nobody else loves you. So please, try to think about that. I know you're not going to like sometimes what they say to you. Never forget what it is that's behind that they are for you like nobody else can be. All right, look at verse 15. Walk in your parents' ways. He says, my son, do not walk in that way, the way with them. Hold back your foot from their paths. Obviously, the opposite's going to be what? Walk in my path. Now, in other words, not just listen to my teaching. Watch what they do. I hope you have good parents. And I hope they follow God. My parents didn't follow God for a good bit of their life. I was pretty well toward grown up before I discovered how really bad it was. And it separated us for a long time. I had really great grandparents. I had very strong, spiritually minded grandparents. If you're a grandparent in this audience, you listen to me. You can have a profound impact in your grandkid's life. I mean, it can jump a generation. I am living proof of that. My cousin, who has served as a shepherd in a congregation, he can't now, his wife's died, but he's the same living proof. Don't ever give up. Don't ever quit fighting. Don't ever quit being the influence for them, because grandparents can. But know that you need to watch their ways. In my case, I'm telling you, I couldn't always watch the ways of my parents, but I watched the ways of my grandparents. And I loved them, and I knew how much they loved me. And so when they would instruct me, or when they would tell me to do some things and talk about things, I can remember when I was in high school, my parents saw no problem with me going to the dances and doing all that kind of stuff. And when you're a kid, you want to do that. And so my parents had no problem with it. My grandparents tried to talk me out of it. I didn't listen to my grandparents, It's only later that as I thought about it and considered what my grandparents were trying to teach me, I understood. And sometimes that's the way it's going to be. You're going to later in life understand. tell me about the word reputation. Do y'all know what I mean when I say you have a reputation?
Like it means like what other people think of you,
Okay, it's right. They think of you based on what?
how you act.
Pardon?
How do you act?
How you act, your actions, all right? That you develop a reputation that's either good or bad, but it's how other people are viewing you. How long does it take to build a good reputation? How long?
Depends on who you are.
What?
Depends on who you are.
Yeah. Would you say a short amount of time or a long? Alex shaking his head, a short amount of time. It takes a while, doesn't it? You got to live right, and people have got to watch you. And it can't just be for a week, and it can't just be for a month, but they're going to watch you. When people say, have y'all heard somebody say about you or about some of your friends, that's a good young person? They'll say, that's a good guy. That's a good young guy. Or that's a good young lady. They say something like that. Or they say to you, that's a good young lady. You need to go date her. You know, they're talking to you about that kind of thing. What are they trying to say to you when they say that? They're saying that their actions, generally speaking, are always trying to do the good thing, the right thing. And they're building that reputation. Now think about the other side of it. How long does it take to break a good reputation? Like that. Like that. Take you all this time to build up a good one. Think of King David. All that he did that was good. All that he served God doing. Think about how he wanted God. And then that quick, he looks out and sees Bathsheba, and everything unravels. His family unraveled, Amnon that we had up a minute ago. God told him, the sword, because of what you have done, the sword will never depart from your house. And David suffered until the end of his life because of that one look, that he didn't turn away, walk back in his palace and forget it and say, I'm not going to be drawn away to do the wrong thing. Understand that's what your parents are trying to build for you. They're trying to build in you a reputation that's good. And so you need to watch them and you need to listen to them. And then the last thing, notice that he says at verse 19, what's the end result of this guy taking the way of his friends? Such are the ways of everyone who is greedy for unjust gain. It takes away the life of its possessors. A friend of mine, there was a preacher, asked me to go to a prison to visit an inmate that was a Christian. He obviously had made terrible choices, and it ended him up behind bars. I had never been to that kind of maximum security prison. Have you all ever been to jail? I don't mean inside it. Okay. Have you ever been to jail? Have you ever looked at it? You know, the best thing that a judge can do for somebody that's caught driving, wildly or anything is they make you watch video after video of people getting killed doing that. It'll sober you. I remember walking in, there are gun towers, there's everything you can imagine around it, razor wire. There was a path, It wasn't a yellow brick road, but it was yellow striped. I remember that. And I mean, you can't get out of that path. And you follow it up, and you go the way it goes. And then when you get to the door that they finally let you through, you can't have anything on you. I couldn't have a pen in my pocket. Can't have my Bible. Couldn't have anything like that. You go through that section, there's a guy standing behind a window, and then they open the other side, and you can pass through. They hand you a Bible that he knows is clean. You're not trying to smuggle anything in. So they give me a Bible, and then we go in. My friend told me, he said, I'm not going to tell you why he's in here. Well, that sort of got me to thinking, He's not in here for petty thievery, He was a murderer. He was a murderer. I remember sitting down looking at him thinking, because here's a guy now that loves God, and he knows he's fouled up bad. And my friend was moving away, and he wanted to introduce him to me so that I could continue to study with him. They moved him shortly after that, and they do that a lot, and he didn't even know. They relocated him to another prison, so I never was able to continue my studies with him. Listen to what it says. It takes away the life of the possessors. What did Moses do when he looked out and saw the slaves of the Hebrews, and he looked at the palace of his adoptive mother, Egyptian mother, and he looked down both roads? Warren and I were talking about it at lunch, and he said, I think the wise thing, he said, Proverbs or the wisdom literature is about looking at the big picture. It's like looking down the road and seeing where does that road go. If you get anything out of this weekend, promise me that you'll remember that statement. When you're about to make a decision, you're about to think about anything. I'm going to go to school at University of Arkansas. I'm going to go to school at Florida College or wherever. Look down that road. Think about what your friends are asking you to do. Think about what you're thinking about doing. And stop. Stop and think. Stop and consider. Look down the road and see where you are going. Is it legal? That's not a bad thing to ask. Some things are wrong even if they are legal. We've talked about how our country has legalized liquor, which is just another kind of drug, but that doesn't make it a good thing. But most of the time, legal things have to do with what's good. Ask yourself, will it hurt somebody else? Is it going to hurt other people? Is it morally right? And what would it do? What would it do not only to my mom and my dad and my grandparents, but what would it do to my God? How would Jesus feel about what I'm doing? My first experience with a hurricane was in September of 2008. I don't think you can see Bryan, Texas, but where that little colored dot is, if you come up from the center of the eye of the hurricane, if you look to the left, it says Bryan. That's Bryan and College Station. We were about 100 miles inland. But that's my first experience with a significant hurricane. If you remember Ike that far back, it filled the Gulf of Mexico. I can just still remember seeing that the Gulf of America, it filled the entire Gulf with clouds, except for that center eye of the storm. It was powerful when it hit the shores. The Texas authorities told everyone on Galveston Island, Bolivar Peninsula, I forget all the other names of those islands that are down there. If you stay here and don't evacuate, you will face certain death. I don't need to have that repeated. One time is enough. This isn't the meteorologist on your favorite nighttime news show. This isn't mom calling me, telling me to get off the island. These are people who know what they're talking about. And they repeated it again and again. What do you think happened? Most, but there's your point. Most. But there were some who just went, and stayed. The stories go like this. They still had cell phone towers that had not yet come down. And one neighbor had pled with their neighbor, a lady, to please go with them. They stayed so late that as they evacuated, water was beginning to come up to the doors of the bottom of the doors of their car. They barely made it out. But they had pled with her because she was an older lady. She She can remember this hurricane. She can remember that hurricane. She's not leaving. She called them on her cell phone and said, I think I have made a terrible mistake. They found her body 8 miles inland. That storm did this to the Gulf Coast. I want to know who built that one house. That's who I want my builder to be. I look at that, it doesn't even look like it got hurt. I'm thinking, what did he build that out of? But everything around it, folks, were houses. All the way up and down that road were people's houses. And there was nothing left. Can you imagine if you'd have been in one of those houses? It's just like that lady. I think I've made an awful mistake, and it was too late. Here's the invitation. Don't wait till it's too late. Don't wait till it's too late. Don't wait till you're saying to yourself, I can't change after the trumpet blows and the voice of the archangel shouts and the dead in Christ rise first. It's too late to be baptized into Jesus Christ at that point. Listen to the Word of God. Listen to your parents. Listen to your grandparents. Listen to Warren and Sam and the elders and these people that love you and know that they want the very best for you. Makes me happy to see you guys. I think about the future. And it makes me happy because y'all love God. And that matters most of all. So we're going to sing a song of invitation in order that if you need to obey the gospel, you have the chance to do so, or if you need to come back while we stand and while we sing.